I've grown up on Staten Island since I was 4 years old. But being that I went to high school and college in Manhattan, I spent more of my waking hours commuting to and being in the city than in Staten Island. This made me a pretty typical Staten Islander. It was only when I was planning to move abroad that I realized I didn't know the first thing about the island, besides the mall and the dump, also making me a typical Staten Islander. I decided to change that. The summer of 2008, I set out with 2 friends and the family minivan for a 3-week road trip around the island. I wasn't coming home. We would eat out, camp out wherever possible, and interact with the locals.
I don't want to be seen by anyone who knows me. I want to go to the country. Never return till the day my bones are dusty and my hair is gray. I don't want to be seen. Go out west into the sun. I'll make my money and I'll have some fun alone.
It was supposed to be a gimmick, a stunt. After all, this was Staten Island as I knew it.
Oh my God, please, I can't even...
I'm not going to state my opinions of Staten Island on camera.
It's whack. There's nothing to do here.
It's an outcast. No one ever wants to count Staten Island.
It is. It's a classless fucking place.
There's nothing good about Staten Island.
It's not a bad place to raise kids and have a family. But if you're 21, don't come here.
I don't consider Staten Island my home. It never really grew on me.
Staten Island is different than everywhere. It's like a different planet. Don't you live out here?
So I did. But I wasn't going to let that ruin my road trip. I wanted to know what people liked about Staten Island.
It's like being in an oasis. You don't know where you are, but it's someplace else. It's beautiful, that element of the natural environment. It's here. So that's what you don't have over there. So when they get over here, that's what they have. And they know, we as human beings, being attached to the earth, that's who we are.
It still feels like the country out here, and it's like you're in the center of everything. So I have Brooklyn here and New Jersey right behind us, and Manhattan. It's like I'm in the center of the universe, I feel like.
It's terrible to live in the middle of where everything is happening.
Like, we go out to the mall, we go down to this place like on Rockland Avenue. It's like driving through the woods. It's beautiful.
It was nice being in a place with a lot of trees, because where I grew up was a city, like a major city, and coming here was nice, seeing green.
The parks, the walkways, it's so quiet. Your children can go out and play.
I love filming Staten Island wildlife up close.
I think it's one of the prettiest boroughs. At least we have some green here, trees.
That's what I like about here. I work in the city, I come home, I feel like I'm a million miles away. But the city is half an hour away.
Staten Island is a nice place. You have your house and you can go on your deck at night and it's quiet and you can make a fire.
Well, not all cemented and it's not cold like some other boroughs, like Brooklyn.
Not cold like some other boroughs.
Brooklyn?
What, the temperature is different here than Brooklyn?
Not talking about temperature.
My mom likes it. She likes it.
We live right here, so she's in walking distance of everything she needs.
Brand new houses, brand new construction. You had dishwashers. Nobody had dishwashers in Brooklyn. Things like that. That meant a lot.
As you grow, you want different things in life. So, my main thing that I wanted was a parking spot. I didn't have that in Brooklyn.
Beautiful in-ground pool for friends to enjoy.
It's just the room, just the privacy. It's nice to just like I said, to have a backyard, to go outside and let the kids just play in the yard.
In the Bronx, in certain areas that I used to live, even past 9 o'clock, there are people always in the street. So you always have to, who's this, who's that. So here in Staten Island, because of the environment, like 9 o'clock, there's no one there. So what are you looking over your shoulder for?
When we moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, we thought that the island offered a great family environment to raise our children.
Kids in the suburbs, what do they end up doing all the time? Going home, playing video games, or hanging out with their friends to play video games or do drugs?
It's boring and everybody's on drugs.
It's not saying they were out hurting people. They just get bored and they'll go and get some, whatever. So whatever they do now, I don't even know. I never got involved in drugs myself.
Percocets. Xanax used to be a little more popular, not really anymore. It's mostly Percocets. It makes you feel really relaxed. it's a numbness inside of you, basically, and kind of slows you down.
I am going out my mind. I've got too much time on my hands. I spend too much time alone.
I feel sorry for these children today. They're on their own too much. They really are on their own too much.
Meet up, decide how many they're getting, and go and get a whole bunch, swallow them, and try to make a night out of it.
Staten Island's voted #1 by New York Magazine for underage drinking. Kids throw pegs in parks, like, and kids know to go there because, like, they do it on a weekly basis.
Where else can you go? You know, can't expect to go and hang out at someone's house all the time because it's annoying to the family itself. And when you're a young kid and you're just trying to, you know, just to meet up with your friends and hang out, when you start to gather maybe over 10 people, the cops will show up and they'll push you right off in the corner and move you somewhere else. So there's really nowhere to go if you're young.
If a cop sees you walking with like 3 kids, that automatically means you're doing something wrong.
I hate to think that when kids get together that they are doing something wrong, but I would probably say that the majority of the time they are. Just hanging out on a corner, making noise is something wrong, is disturbing the people who live there. So I think there has to be places for people to go.
I ride through here a lot and you don't see a lot of kids, which may be good because if they tend to congregate too much, that's when, you know, trouble starts. Graffiti starts, this starts.
Graffiti art died on Staten Island. It used to be really big between 5 and 10 years ago. It's kind of dead now. When I first started doing it, it was considered a misdemeanor. Now I believe it's a Class E felony. If you get caught, you might do jail time.
I guess when you're being advertised to, you know, every which way, you know, marketing all the time, maybe you want to say something back, you know, maybe you want to put in your comment and, you know, you turn you into a criminal for that.
Yo, Vandal Squad! He's videotaping me, what the fuck?
The fun of graffiti is ditching the cops and trying to tag up but nobody seeing you. That's the fun of it. You know, we had a love for an art form. It was a culture, basically, and they took that from us. They took our culture.
One day we'll all be free.
We have like nothing to do around here, and when we go into the schoolyard, we get in trouble. We get summonses for that.
Say like kids are out hanging out on a corner. On Staten Island, usually the case is one of them is probably going to have an illegal substance on them.
People travel in packs, so it's like they get noticed. They look like they're up to no good. Then that's when you bring attention to yourself.
There's a lot of old people around here, so they'll complain a lot.
Should've stopped. Sorry.
That's why before you throw any event, especially outside or a big, was gonna be a lot of teenagers, you gotta talk to the people around the neighborhood first and see what they feel about it. Because they really don't want to see a lot of teenagers in one area just loud music. You know how they stereotype.
See, that's only 2 kids, and see the difference already.
My wife passed away, it'll be 5 years, so I'm alone now. Sometimes when I got nothing to do at night, I become a couch potato, you know, and I don't want to die in a rocking chair. So I'll get up and go to the mall and walk around the mall. If some of the people that I see roaming around, like I mentioned in the mall, half dressed and crazy makeup and crazy color hair, if my future or my kids' future depends on them, God help us.
Young teenagers play chicken with the cars on Highland Boulevard. They stand in the middle median and they wait for a car to come by, and then they dart out into the middle of the street. And it got to the point where I just don't go down Highland Boulevard anymore at night.
Cornelius Vanderbilt, who's buried on Staten Island. Children have played on his mausoleum and they've died. They've slipped, they've fallen, they've gotten diseases. These kids die when they play on his mausoleum.
So why are they trespassing in the middle of the night on a cemetery to play on some people's graves?
So what do 11-year-olds do on Staten Island? Try to find ghosts.
Seaview, the first time I went to it was 3 years ago. And I wasn't afraid. Now after this, I'm not gonna walk in there alone. Look, see that? 3 faces, 1, 2, 3. They're gonna fly in together to form one big one. You see that? The flashlight's supposed to be at the center the whole time, but it's not. It's good you have a good camera.
Kick up or down?
Down. Be for excitement, absolutely. You know, it's definitely...
Young kids can't drown their sorrows in alcohol and they go cause trouble elsewhere. Staten Island Mall or ghost hunting.
My friend came here 20 minutes before the group did, and when we came, he popped out at us with a hockey mask and a machete. Sorry.
That's definitely a level of excitement. Oh man, it's scary!
People said his brain was infected by devils. People said his brain was infected by devils.
In the actual Seaview area now where the rehabilitation center is, that's where tuberculosis patients were kept. And then you have Seaview Farms, which was a little community built for people who were out of work in the 1920s. It was closed in 1965 or 75, whatever the hell that was. The areas like the Staten Island Mall and Forest Hill Road were all farms previous to being developed in like the late 70s.
Oh, where the mall is, that was two things. Originally it was an airport and
farmland. As far as you could see, all farms.
And as kids we used to get $2 a day. Pick all the vegetables, put them in bushels.
And in the summer we worked up in the farms for 25 cents a day.
People used to have raise their own chickens and goats.
It was not uncommon to see a donkey, a goat, and a chicken walking around.
I think it's only people who are maybe a generation older than you who have seen the other side, who know what they're losing. I think people your age don't necessarily appreciate what you're losing. You don't have the history. You don't have the memories of driving down Richmond Avenue when there was a drive-in movie theater and a little airport.
See, the grandchildren, they're interested in computers and antennas. I don't know if they care or not. I mean, I'm here today. That's all I know. So many people are not here. I'm here so I can talk about it.
My little road trip gimmick was starting to yield questions I couldn't shake off. Was this idyllic Staten Island a myth created by nostalgic senior citizens? And if so, how do they all get their stories straight?
In the old days, like, I'm sure you're way too young, you don't remember. Your mother never screamed out the window for you while you were down the block. My mother would scream out the window. Dinner. They need dinner.
We were outside all day. Out in the morning, whistled in at night for dinner.
Ride your bicycles, be at a neighbor's house. Everybody just knew when the street lights came on, you went home.
In the 70s and 80s, you got up, you ate, you went out, you came home for lunch, you went out. You knew you had to be home for dinner 6 o'clock.
And if the good old days weren't a myth, how is it the youths recalled it as well?
I honestly remember being a kid and having something like milk home delivered. That's something that we don't do nowadays.
Did real community and family values ever exist? Or were they always just a figment of our nostalgia?
My greatest memory is being with like 30, 40 people in the neighborhood and playing softball all summer long.
Where we lived in Westerly, it was very quiet. And you could let your kids go out and play. You don't feel that way anymore. You have to watch them.
We don't even let them out in our backyard without being outside. Yeah, because we have a low fence. You hear stories of little children being abducted from their front yard.
I had people break into my shed.
Oh my God.
There are no fountains because people are poisoning your baby food, your Tylenol. Everything's contaminated. E. coli and tomatoes. 65-38. Nobody feels safe anymore.
We see a few things on the beach when we're walking around. I mean, unmentionables, but they're there. I tell them just don't go over your head. Yeah, because I don't want them breathing any bacteria or anything in.
It's a whole different world. They have play dates today. You know, when I was a kid, you just went out and called and see who's around.
So you have not had the opportunity to be able to go out and play without having a play date and locks and chains, knee pads and elbow pads and helmet. Whereas we used to say, go out and play in traffic.
I would feel very comfortable walking around in the dark if I was 14 years old in my own neighborhood. I don't know if I would do that now.
At 10, 11 years old, I would walk 2, 3, 4 miles to Goodyear to play ball with my friends. I won't drive there now.
I think there's more danger because there's more people. Staten Island's, it's like becoming like Brooklyn.
It's becoming more urban because you're getting an influx of people coming from other boroughs.
We are going to get a big storm here.
You know, I miss the freedom for my kids. You know what I mean? Because I don't feel comfortable just letting them go out. Because I just, you know what I mean? Because I live in a very congested area. So you really don't know who your neighbors are.
When the bridge opened, half the island moved out.
The bridge was the changing point of Staten Island.
It saved people an awful lot of work, truckers and stuff like that, but it actually helped destroy Staten Island. In my eyes, it did. And a lot of people agree with me also.
Once the Verrazano went up, this borough was doomed.
There was this sense of, oh my God, all these people coming in from Brooklyn and taking over Staten Island.
The bridges really spoiled Staten Island. And of course the whole complex of Staten Island has changed. You have a lot of people that come from, but they don't even belong here.
That was like the thing that destroyed Staten Island, bringing, you know, foreigners from Brooklyn.
Because they bring their values over here. These people aren't used to it. And, you know, their kids spawn and then they, you know, like I said, the contamination of the species, here comes their breed, spilling out all this shit that no one wants to see.
That is a running joke at my swim club. The South Shore, the immigrants, they're the post-bridge people. We're the so-called people who ruined the island with our big development. We're not really interlopers. We came here because houses were good values. They kind of consider themselves more cultural.
Whoever approved some of that development should be arrested, put on trial. I mean, there are backyards facing Main Street in Tottenville. There are homes that have backyards the size of a piece of carpet.
Very expensive houses being built on little postage-sized plots. It's all housed, and they're in the suburbs. Wow.
Some of them have like a Spanish stucco facade on the top, and then at the bottom they've got Tudor beams, and they look like, you know, somebody just got a clip art architecture book and tossed it in the air and made a collage and said, all right, this is a neighborhood.
It's stylish, it's okay. I would prefer to have a single house, but this is what we could afford.
If you understand where a lot of those folks are coming from, literally, they got the American dream.
If you were living for 20 years in a tiny little tenement apartment somewhere, it's a Shangri-La.
It's such a big step up from what they were used to that what I have to complain about? This is pretty nice.
Yeah, it would be nice to camp out somewhere here. Should we knock on a door?
That a lot of them came and thought that the housing that was available for them was paradise, whereas we looked at it, really, you know, we didn't think it was so wonderful. They were looking for land. They were looking for a lot of things that after they all came, there was less of.
Most Staten Islanders will say that started when the bridge was completed in 1964. But every generation tries to find, you know, greener pastures, larger backyards, a better place to raise their kids. And when the bridge opened up, it just became more convenient for everybody.
Some people might recognize the name Cropsey or Britton or Stillwell from families coming in Brooklyn. And they were farmers in the late 1600s, the early 1700s, and then because of overcrowding in Brooklyn, they came to Staten Island. Staten Island has always had extra land.
They're taking down one-family houses and putting up 3 houses, you know, and that ain't what Staten Island was about. Staten Island was a suburb.
They wanted to put 52 new townhouses just on these 2 lots.
If you come home slightly tipsy, you'd be amazed if you can find where you live.
They built too much. I think they ruined Staten Island because there was so much land and so much scenery and all, you know.
Yeah, I would rather see it the way it used to be. Sort of, they call it like the Victorian style with the winding paths, the winding roadways. The newer part of the cemetery was designed for space. The older cemetery wasn't. Track housing.
It's overpopulated and getting more and more every day. I mean, I remember as a kid, I don't think there was maybe 200 people living on Staten Island, 200,000 people living on Staten Island. Yeah. Today, there's 500,000 or, you know, many more.
We're the fastest growing borough.
For the last, especially 4 years, too much construction, too many new houses, communities, traffic.
When we lived back in Russia, and the buses were always overcrowded. So people should like attack the bus to get in. The bus comes in, it was often that there was no place to step in. So the person on a stop says to the people in the bus, please squeeze, please let me squeeze in, please move a little bit. So people breathe out and let him in. The bus comes to the next stop and somebody else says, please move, move. And the person who just was let in says, don't you see, there is no place.
The original Staten Islanders are upset about development. We were the bridge people.
Yeah, we're the bridge people.
Like my children are considered like Staten Islanders probably because they were only like 6 months old when I moved here.
The natives are people born here. I mean, if you came when you were 6 months old, you're not a native. I'm not kidding.
Staten Island Advance usually is very strict about that, at least in their obituaries.
We were here first. And we knew it when it was different.
It really is like a small town, like you know, the Twilight Zone somewhere at moments. People are just kind of stuck in this sort of dimension that you can't completely cross because you're not from here.
And I was here first, so.
I mean, but superficially, they're very friendly.
All my life, born and bred. My husband was born here, up the street, and then he moved down the street. Now I like to stay in one place.
You'll have people who grow up in a small town. It's the same place that their parents live, same place their grandparents live, and great-grandparents, and they never want to leave the small town.
Like most of the kids at the school don't ever leave like a 3-mile radius of their house.
Conversely, in the same small town, you have people who are like, I can't wait to get out of here, I need to leave, I need to, like, you know, expand the horizons, go somewhere where everything's happening. On Staten Island, you have the thing that whenever they're referring to Manhattan, they always call it the city. That is a Staten Island attitude that drives me bonkers.
It's only part of New York City, technically. There's only one road in, one road out, no subway. You got to take the ferry or, you know, the Verrazano to get into the rest of the city.
We're an outer borough. We always were known, always, in the newspapers all the time, the forgotten borough. Did you ever hear that term?
We're part of New York City. You know, we're the 5th borough, we're the forgotten borough.
And we liked it that way. We liked it that way.
There was a secessionist movement, as you probably know. I believe in 1993, something like 65% of islanders voted to secede from New York City.
Yes, I was in favor of it.
It just won't work. It'll be bankrupt in a minute. It's still a bedroom community. Let's face it. You know, people go to sleep at night, or they go to Manhattan to party.
I feel like it could benefit from parts of it being more urbanized. There's parts of the island that don't have to be dead. Bloomberg came up with this like idea for a ferry system. People could be saving an hour and a half a day off their travel because there would be like a ferry that would, you know, transport people from a midpoint of this gigantic island instead of just from the very end. And it's a great idea, and there's potential to make it work, but there's too many people in Staten Island that just want their streets to not be clogged with people taking up their beloved parking space. So they killed this idea.
We didn't want it to be like the other 4 boroughs. The other 4 boroughs have high crime rates, have high drug rates. Now we're getting like that because the people from the city are coming to Staten Island. So it's no longer a sleepy little outer borough. You know, it's like getting to be like the other boroughs.
I was born in Manhattan, and I've kind of been to each of the boroughs. When I lived in the Bronx, I had my own apartment, and you don't know who's who. You know, if someone's a crackhead or if someone's a working person, you know, I would always look at what people had in their hands. So when I came here, it took me a good like 5 years to stop like looking over my shoulders. And
I like quietness, you know, like when I was in Brooklyn, so much noise, shootings, cops, ambulance, fire department every 5 seconds. You don't hear that here.
It's becoming more cultural, you know, multicultural as it becomes more populated and more like the rest of the city. You're seeing more and more people, more and more different kinds of people.
The ethnic groups, it's all changed now, you know. We got a lot of Russians, a lot of Mexicans and Spanish people, black people.
Staten Island is kind of racist too, you know.
We asked the landlord, they had a problem with us having, you know, friends coming over because we have a mixture of friends. He said, no, but I just gotta let you know there's only one couple who lives here who are African American. But that's it, he said.
I don't want to mix with other cultures. It's normal for people to live amongst their own kind. Right? It's abnormal for people to mix. The government wants us to mix. At one time, the United States had the best school system in the world. No longer.
I graduated in 1949. There was no black students. Not that I have anything against black students or blacks, you know.
Why would anyone want to go back to Egypt? The world of sin, bondage, and slavery. Yet we have a lot of people today that is looking over their shoulders, looking to the left and looking to the right.
I'm not prejudiced, but they're all over. Everybody's all over now. It's just all mixed, you know. And in some cases, it's good because you learn a little bit about other cultures, maybe, or maybe they open a business that's, good for the neighborhood.
My boy Tamer comes in here one day. He's outside with the barber cape on. He was getting a haircut, and he's yelling at the girl that he's dating. She's in the passenger seat of the car. So I'm like, yo, what are you doing, man? You're out here on Victory Boulevard yelling at your girl. What's wrong, bro? And he's like, Tyreek, this girl, she's crazy. She doesn't want to go across the street. Her hat popped, and she won't go across the street to get safety pins. So I was like, what's up, sweetheart? Like, he's getting his hair cut. Leave him alone and go across. And she was like, I won't. I said, what's wrong? I went. The 99-cent store is right across your street. And she looks and she says, I'm scared. And she's sincere. I just started to ridicule her, right? I was like, oh my God. I was like, look, there's a black person across your street walking, and he's not killing anyone. He's not stabbing anyone. He's not shooting anyone. Like, can you believe that? You know, and she's like, oh, don't make fun. I was like, no, this is fucking ridiculous. And that's why all of you people who complain about Staten Island being a forgotten borough, because you keep that mentality up, you're just gonna be forgotten.